Hello everyone, my name is Cindy Yu and I'm the National Welfare Manager here at Outside the Locker Room, and this is the Expert League, where we interview experts from all different specialty areas and modalities to give us some insight and advice on how we can manage our mental health and well-being during these challenging times. Today I have with me Simona Weinstein from Melbourne. Hi Simona, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you. How are you, Cindy?
Good, thank you. Thanks for joining us today. So Simona is a qualified and experienced art therapist and the founder of Indigo Art Therapy. She helps her clients manage and improve their mental health and well-being through creative processes, and she's here to explain how. So thank you so much for joining us. First of all, can you give us a bit of a background on what art therapy is and how that is beneficial for our mental health?
Absolutely. So, you know how sometimes you've got a picture in your mind, but you're a little bit stuck for words and it's hard to put it in words? So, art therapy helps put whatever's going on in your mind out there. It's just like we have a music language, or we have an art language, or we have Spanish. We have a creative language, and the creative language helps us let go and tell ourselves and tell the world around us what's happening inside of our hearts, inside of our heads. And it's a very gentle way and a very non-confrontational way of exploring what's happening and finding a bit of inner peace. And I think also it's important to say that we're able to get in touch with the part of our brain that is influencing our behaviour and influencing all the thoughts that we've got that are making us feel perhaps a bit sad or a bit anxious or a bit stressed. But we don't normally have access to that part of our brain. And because the art is working on the right side of our brain, which is a more holistic way of looking at the world and operating as a human being, we're able to go into that side and we're able to pull it all out and explore it using all the art materials. And I suppose it also depends on which side, on what kinds of art materials we're using that will encourage the different forms of expression.
Yeah, amazing. It sounds like a really great way for people to explore their thoughts in a different way that they haven't maybe experienced before. And I'm really interested to find out a little bit more about that. Are there different types of art therapy or different modes of art therapy?
Well, over my many years of experience, I've coined two different phrases, two different modes of art therapy. And I think that there's therapy-based art and there's art-based therapy. And again, this is my take on it. But the therapy-based art would be something like, Cindy, what's happening for you today? You know, how are you feeling? And you might say, Simona, I'm feeling a little bit stressed. I'm not really sure what's going on for me. I just can't seem to focus. I can't seem to, lift my game. So we'll talk about that and we'll unpack it. And I'll say, okay, so perhaps we can go inside of our bodies and find where that heat is and where that stress is and go and pull out an image from that space and give form to that image. So it could be simple, like we could have I'm feeling really relaxed, but I just need to put it in words because it's all of this creativity, all of this buzz inside of me is so pent up, I just want to express it. So just a simple piece of paper. This is really crass. It's just throwing some paint on a piece of paper and getting it out there. Some of the paint and some of the pictures could be obviously a lot more blacker than that, and that is your therapy-based art. You might have a dream, for example, where a kid's dreaming of monsters. Let's draw out those monsters. Let's put them out on the paper. How big are they? How small are they? And we can rip up the piece of paper as well. So that's your therapy-based art. And your art-based therapy is more about the creative process that you're doing that is just relaxing you. So it could be knitting, it could be crocheting, it could be just doing simple craft work with Play-Doh, with string, we could be sewing. I've got lots of different kinds of felt, plain felt, pieces that you can just get a sewing needle and cotton and just be sewing, and then lots of different pieces on top of it to make masks for little kids. So there's all these different kinds of creative processes that we do that create a sense of predictability. And when we're doing something that's predictable and repetitive, we feel safe. And when we feel safe, our blood pressure drops and our heart rate drops and our adrenaline drops and our breathing rate drops, and we just become more relaxed. We move away from that response of wanting to fight and attack or wanting to run away and flight. And it's in that space that also creates a sense of therapy. So that's two different kinds of art therapy.
Yeah, really, really fascinating and interesting. And it's great to see that there's a way of expressing as a way, and also a way of calming and practicing some mindfulness. So really quite different types of therapy. Yeah.
I think it depends on the goals, Cindy. So, for example, if there's a teenager that is feeling really stressed about life, they're in isolation at the moment, they're not seeing their friends, they're not going to their sports games, they're not putting out all that energy, what is it that they need at that point in time? Are they aware of what's causing them all that stress and that anxiety? If they're aware, then they're able to go into more of that art-based therapy. So they're just going into a creative space where they can find something that is repetitive and relaxing. And it could be real painting. I mean, it could be painting where people are actually getting, I'm in my space here and I've got trestles all over the place and easels all over the place, and people are just doing what makes them feel relaxed. It could be puzzles, it could be paint and Play-Doh. If it's somebody, it might be a carer of somebody with mental health, and they are also going through their own journey of just, they need a little bit more self-care at the moment, because they're with so much change in our life and having to get used to that change, there's a lot on their plate as well. So they might want to go into a space of relaxation. If it's somebody that is unwell, unfortunately, I've also worked in the area of palliative care, there's a space there where people, and that's end of life stage care, where people need closure. So it depends on what the goal of the art therapy is, and the kind of person that's engaged in the art therapy. So somebody that would like closure, would like legacy, there's a different intention about the art therapy. If it's a kid that's flying high, ADHD, can't sit still in front of the Zoom or the team meetings with their teacher, so that could be a mandala. That could be a parent pulling aside a piece of paper. Sorry, a simple taking, if you've got simple drawing pad and taking out a piece of paper. And I'm not sure if you've heard of mandala, if your audience have heard of mandalas, but it's simply a circle design. And I'll show you in a moment. In fact, I'll show you now. Is that okay? I'll show you now.
Yeah.
So, for example, here is, sometimes fruit boxes come in foam. Yep, in foam. You can take a Stanley knife. Yep, this could be the parent, or it could be the child as well. And I'm very encouraging of young kids using sharp tools safely, because that sets them up not to be afraid of it. So just as a little tip, I don't know if you can see, one moment. If I turn my tissue box upside down and I lower my computer a little bit, you can see the way I recommend to kids to do this is to always make a bridge. Yeah, so that's your hand, make a bridge, and always make sure that the knife is going perpendicular, so through the bridge. If I do it this way, it's through the bridge. That way you won't ever cut your fingers. Anyway, you can cut your fruit box up into a piece of foam. Take simple cereal bowl, okay? Put the bowl over your foam box. Oops, that's what I'm doing. 1 minute. And trace the cereal box around. Flip over the bowl. That is, can you see that? A mandala. All right, simple mandala. Now, the idea of the mandala is to center people and to ground them and make them feel relaxed in their space and give them a sense of boundary. What we can do in the mandala is, you've got an old t-shirt, thin fabric, very, very thin fabric. You can cut it up with scissors. Here's one prepared before. And what you can do is inside the mandala, one of the ways of grounding and centering people and relaxing them is to start from the center and create repetitive patterns. So it might be, and it could even be within concentric circles. I'm doing this very, very, very simply, but it might be simply like this, right? And you can just go round and round, or you could do a whole image inside there. But the point is that you can fill that image not with textures necessarily. It can be textures as well, but on this foam, you can take a piece of thin fabric, put it on the piece, and just with a pen, poke it in like that.
Oh, wow.
You've got a very simple, effective, and you can imagine that whole piece is full of different colours, and it becomes a very effective way to centre people, centre kids. And it's a beautiful, relaxing, words of warning, very addictive activity to do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for giving us a real world example of what we can do at home with some materials that we might already have available to us. And it sounds like these therapies and art therapy itself can be for all ranges of people of all different ages,
absolutely,
and stages of life even.
So, for example, I know, I brought something else. I know that kids also might be experiencing, and young adults would be experiencing some stress a little bit around, because there's isolation and travelling restrictions, and there's a lot of time being spent at home as well. We have an issue sometimes with personal boundaries and personal space, and people that we're spending so much time with. We wouldn't normally. You normally wake up in the morning, go to school, go to work, and it's, you know, we've got that time away, and then we can even bring new material to the dinner table at night. But when we're spending all this time together during the day, there's a sense of monotony, or there's a sense of encroaching on personal space, and we haven't carved out our own little space. And an activity that I like to do also with some kids is even just to take I feel like Mary Poppins here.
Where's it all coming from?
Just take a simple box.
Yeah.
Again, take your Stanley knife or take scissors, or even rip it. And ripping is so cathartic, Cindy. You know, take it and just literally rip off the box and create a make-believe house. And it can be for teenagers as well. It can be for adults as well. What would you put in your ideal space right now? And what do you not want in your ideal space? And that can be your internal world as well. And you can fill it with anything, with little figurines of Play-Doh, of people, of your friends. They're wonderful ways to, I suppose, engage in the feelings that are happening for you and turning them into three-dimensional pieces. So it goes out of here and into something else outside of you.
And we've spoken in past interviews about how important it is to be able to express and acknowledge our feelings. And this gives people a different way of doing that, which is really incredible. And as you said, really cathartic, that you're able to really express it physically as well. So, and it sounds like, you know, there's quite a few challenges that are going for people at the moment, and that we are in an enclosed space with people, and this is a really great way to be able to set those boundaries and really ground ourselves again.
Yeah, you know, I've spoken to a number of kids in the last few days and teenagers that are saying, I'm getting the learning from from online learning sessions, but I miss playtime and I miss lunchtime, and I miss, and even for adults, just to miss that water fountain conversation. They're the little moments of magic in the day that we're missing out on. So if there is a way to build up the courage to actually pick up the phone and talk to somebody, or to get into house party, or get into something where you can actually connect with a person, because I know, and I'm speaking to the audience across the board and everybody and myself as well, I know that it actually takes courage to take the risk to dial a number and pick up a phone, because they might not answer. And then a person that's sort of struggling with mental health, well, what does that mean? Maybe they don't want to answer me. Are they rejecting me? And there's all of this other self-talk that goes on that tends to go down, 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 down. If we just stop for a moment and go, let's just try and see how we go, because there's this paradox, there's this real contradiction between, I've got all this freedom now, but yet I'm restricted. So how do we work with that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a challenging time at the moment. So, seeing and being curious about, let's see what happens, see how it goes. It's a really, really great advice.
Yeah.
I could be talking to you for hours and giving us some really great tips on how we can, things that we can incorporate in our homes. If people want to get in contact with you and find out more about art therapy or even work with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. Well, you can go on to indigoarttherapy.com.au, and I'll say that again, .au, because there is an American one, but that's not us. That only started a year ago. So it's indigoarttherapy.com.au, or you can call me directly on 0420 672 753. Simona Weinstein. And I suppose I just want to leave you with something else. If you have done some artwork, feel free to turn it around, rotate it, because sometimes your solution and the healing is often in the pain itself that you've drawn. And that can be really surprising and inspiring, but I think that takes a bit more of guidance with an art therapist as well. But absolutely just let go, surrender at home, and just take a risk.
Yeah, be open to new perspectives, it sounds like.
Be open, exactly. Expand your awarenesses. That's what it's about. And because we're using the right side of the brain, the part that we don't normally talk to, we're seeing the world in a different way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's been really incredible.
Thank you.
Hearing your advice and your insights into art therapy. I'm sure people have, gotten a lot out of this conversation and have had their minds open to a whole different modality that they haven't experienced before. So we really appreciate your time, and I hope you stay well and safe during these times as well.
I used to say, stay safe. Now I'm saying stay sane.
Same, yes, absolutely. And keep connecting. Keep connecting with
it. Absolutely keep connecting. Thank you. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Simona. Bye.
Bye.